getting back on time after that coffee break. I'm into the last session of the day, but we're going to change tack slightly in terms of the subject area. So for the rest of the afternoon, for the next 3 sessions, we're going to move away from regulation, policy, strategies, to spend a little bit of time talking about infrastructure, distribution and delivery. So we've got 3 presentations that will cover those 3 areas before we wrap up for the day and come back tomorrow. The first of our presentations is given by Mr. Mark Carson. Welcome, Mark. Mark is the Head of Operations and Field Quality and After Sales Support for Renault Middle East, covering 14 countries across the region and another one. And Mark, I think for most of us that have been in the Middle East for a while know that it's a little different from elsewhere. The heat, the humidity means that things work differently here. As part of Mark's role has been testing Renault's products and services to make sure they do work in different environmental conditions.
So, excuse me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to talk to you really more about the dealer side of electric vehicles. So when we introduce into the marketplace, what we do have to look at is how we handle with the network, and how we prepare our network, and I'll give you really more an insight into what Renault has done throughout Europe and other parts of the world. We've got 3 pillars: staff education, which is training, organisation and standards. Mainly 3 pillars that we look to make sure where we implement everything for the safety aspect, because really dealing with electric cars is now a different aspect from dealing with internal combustion engine. So, staff education, technical and safety. We have a training accreditation programme. Really what our objectives are is to learn about the dangers associated with electricity and to be able to identify the hazard for our dealer staff, so that they know what to put in place for preventative actions and how to apply them. Also, I think from one of the presentations this morning, our customers are much more educated on electric vehicles. So we need to educate our customers and be able to converse with our customers at all levels regarding electric vehicles. What Renault has done is taken a European regulation. European regulation is about looking at electrical installations and the risks regarding the electrical installations and working around the electrical installation. So all staff involved in the operations who work near or on an electrical installation are trained to the level to be following all of the rules. So we take the car as the electrical installation. We have 3 levels: qualified, informed and ordinary person. Really what we're looking at is the qualified and the informed person in our dealerships. So we phase that into 3 levels again: red, orange and blue. You'll see the main majority of people fall into the blue category. It's general staff. Orange level, qualified. These are the people that are going to actually work on the electric vehicles. And the red level, which is the battery repairers. Battery repair, again, is something that we do in different countries, on the basis that if we were introduced into the region, we will have a battery repair centre here. It's a specialised operation. It's not something we allow all of the dealer levels to carry out. So with our main distributor, we would introduce a battery repair operation. Just to give you an overview of the people, you can see here the varied people that we train, reach from the sales executive, the valeter, the service, the body shop manager. All of the dealer staff are trained to the level 1. Again, that's the informed level. So we're looking at making sure that everyone within the dealer operation is fully aware of the safety aspects of the vehicle. Level 2 is the lockout technician. I'll talk a little bit more about lockout later on. And as you can see, Level 3 plus is the battery specialist again. The car. We look at the car really in the 3 zones. The blue zone is around the car. Anything to do with the car on the outside of the vehicle, inside the vehicle, would be covered as the blue zone. The orange zone, as we say, the Z1 zone, is more of where the technician is going to work on the high voltage system. Again, we've got the red zone as the battery repair. So the 3 zones. In the main, as you can see before, we said there's no protection required. We work on really personal protective equipment and a collective protective equipment, which are really the 2 areas that we will focus on shortly. Each person is required to pass an exam, maybe in theory or it will be a practical exam. We're looking at practical exam more for the EV technician, the person that's going to actually work on a vehicle. But in theory, all of the people that are involved with electrical vehicles, from sales all the way through, will be asked to pass a theory exam. Each person is certified, and we run refresh training every 3 years. So it's a recycling to make sure all of the people are fully compliant, fully knowledgeable about the electric vehicle. Our training programs, really 3 training programs. We have the dealer training, which is level 1, 2 and 3, which will cover the person that's going to work on the high voltage system, to the salesperson, to the service advisor. We also carry out an external training program for the police, the civil defence, to ensure that they are fully aware of our vehicle and how to treat our vehicle in an accident, which is the most important thing. And again, large fleet users. Large fleet users may well request that they want to maintain the vehicle themselves. If that is the case, we have no objection, but we allow them to do the maintenance. The high voltage work will be carried out under the normal terms of the warranty by our dealer manufacturer. Okay. The safety equipment and the EV workstation. The lockout. The lockout really isolates the vehicle. Most important part of the operation for the lockout technician. This isolates the battery from the rest of the vehicle in the event of an accident or before working on the high voltage system. So before any work is conducted, if there is a diagnostic and you find that there's a fault within the high voltage system, you will lock the vehicle out to make it safe. This is making the vehicle safe. Again, the same for recovery or an accident. The vehicle should be made safe at the side of the road. This may need to be carried out by the civil defence, it may need to be carried out by the recovery. But it puts back the emphasis on the importance of the training of all of these aspects, so that everyone knows the risks with electric vehicles. Just some of the normal compulsory, what we call personal protection equipment. The employer is responsible for providing and maintaining this. You can see we have high voltage gloves which are up to 500 volts. We have a face mask for arc flash. All of these issues, all of these things are taken into consideration. Again, the collective protection material. Demarcation is very, very important in a workshop area. It's to make sure that people do not wander in. People are aware that that is an electric vehicle, its current status. Is it being worked on or not? That's what we need to look at. So we make sure that the vehicles are demarked around the protective area before anyone works on the vehicle. General safety is normal. With battery repair, it requires certain screening. Again, as I said, this is a typical example of what we would say with a workstation. But the vehicle needs to clearly identify whether the vehicle is locked out and what condition it is. And also, for anyone outside of the demarcation area, is to tell them, no access, do not enter into the area. It's a warning, it's just general health and safety. The workstation is nothing special. It's a normal workstation for any vehicle which we currently use today. The only difference is is that we obviously put the barriers around the area when we're working on the high voltage system. Under normal maintenance, we would not put the high voltage, the barriers around the area. Okay. Handling the traction battery. Again, handling the traction battery is something new for everyone. In Europe, we have obviously battery recycling. Today, for the region, as a manufacturer, we would take care of the battery recycling. If recycling is required, we will take care of that. We know that the battery has a second life. We will deal with the second life of the battery. Traction batteries, when they're removed, should be treated in a different manner. It's not like a normal lead-acid battery, as we know. They must be stored indoors, they must be stored below 35 degrees, and they should be covered with an insulated battery blanket. What we need to make sure is that the packaging is used for the new battery, which will clearly identify that it's lithium-ion, to be able the battery to be returned back. Just to give you an idea of the packaging, this is the transportation that we use in the packaging, clearly marked, as you can see, with the lithium-ion identifier. It's classed as a dangerous good, so it has to be treated in the correct manner. Again, we fully train everyone to make sure they're totally aware of this and apply this method. Damaged batteries. Damaged batteries, there is a total process. We have an insulated sleeve, we put them in wood packaging, and they are treated totally different than a normal battery. So, all aspects of managing the battery, whether it's just for normal recycling, normal change, or the battery was damaged in an accident, are covered. Managing an accident damaged vehicle. Obviously one of the most important parts for an electric vehicle. We can have two areas really. We can have the minor repair or the major repair. The vehicle has to be assessed when the vehicle arrives. If there is no structural damage, there's no battery damage, there's no high voltage wiring damage, we would lock the vehicle out and repair the vehicle as normal. If the vehicle obviously has had extensive damage, there could be wiring damage, there's structural damage, there could be battery damage. The vehicle needs to be placed in isolated storage. The body shop technician or the body shop assessor will look at the vehicle and assess it. You need to make sure, is there any leaking fluids? Yes, we know that the electrolyte can leak. It's odourless. It can be washed with water. It's protected, but he needs to identify what we need to do, how we need to treat the vehicle. If he sees this, we must make sure the vehicle is locked out, as I've said, and we put it into the isolated storage process. Isolated storage, really, dedicated area. 5 metres around the car must be kept clear. We demark it, as we've shown previously with the barriers, and we make sure it's 12 metres away from the building. Leave the vehicle for 48 hours. What we don't know in an accident is whether there has been internal short circuit, internal damage within the battery. We can see through diagnostic how certain faults, but we know that with lithium-ion batteries there is a risk of thermal runaway. So this is why we leave the vehicle for a minimum of 48 hours. Once 48 hours has gone, we will then probably, depending on the situation of the vehicle, remove the battery from the vehicle. As you can see there, that's a damaged battery or a damaged vehicle to have the battery removed. All of the tools that we use, we use hydraulic spreader, hydraulic cutter, etc. We don't use any form of grinder, welding, etc. So that's what we're looking at, is to remove. We will then dismantle the vehicle from that point of view, remove the battery, put the battery into the safe storage, and then return the battery. Again, first responder guide. First responder guide is available for everyone to see. We've made it available on our website. It just shows where you can cut the vehicle in the event of an accident. It shares the information. Servicing. Servicing for electric vehicle is actually a plus. We have a reduction in the standard service operations. We've reduced our normal service operation from around about 45 operations to 30. The majority of our operation is really all now electronic. It reduces the time, we reduce the service parts, and obviously we don't need to flush the engine, clean the injectors anymore. So we see overall that we've got a 30% reduction in cost. To give you an idea about the parts that we're no longer going to use, I'll show you on the next slide. As you can see, the new number of parts that we actually have for the vehicle against an internal combustion engine, totally reduced. So this is where we see we get the 30% reduction in cost. There's no belts, there's no spark plugs, there's no oil filter, there's no oil, etc. Finally, managing dealer standards. The dealer standards we manage. It's in our interest of the manufacturer and in the interest of the dealer to make sure that all the standards are being applied. That includes the personal protection, the collective protection equipment, the people are trained, and that they are following us through on their programme. An annual audit is carried out of staff certification, lockout operations have to be recorded, battery storage, charging stations, the showroom display, and then we authorise the dealer. This is carried out every year in conjunction with the dealer to make sure that all the safety standards are being applied in line with the manufacturer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Have you got any questions for Mark? Yes, gentleman in the back, I can see. You can get a microphone to him, that would be great.
Thank you. Was it ever recorded of any fatality due by service people due to an accident when they were fixing or working on an electric vehicle?
Sorry, I didn't quite...
Was it ever recorded of any fatality by service people or civil defense people after an accident? No?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you. But my question has two parts, which are very similar, please. During the normal annual inspection of motor vehicles, we expect inspectors to use their senses that are available for them to assist them in identifying defects on vehicles. Obviously, one of those senses is touch. Do you foresee any issues in relation to an annual inspection and the way in which they touch vehicles underneath? The second part is very similar. It has, in the UK alone, we have 20,000 independent inspection sites. How do you plan to get this information across to the independent inspection sites in UAE?
The second question is a very good question. The first question, we'll go back to the touch. The touch with an electric vehicle, there is no issue. All of the areas for high voltage are clearly identified as part of the regulation we saw this morning. We have to identify normally orange cable or with the triangle. You can touch a vehicle, as you saw at the beginning, halfway through the presentation. The blue zone really is the exterior of the vehicle. So you can go underneath and you can touch the battery casing. The only way that you will get any form of electrification is if you touch the plus and the minus together, which is virtually impossible. The only people that are going to do that are the people that are working on the vehicle. It probably would happen in the event of a failure for someone to follow a lockout procedure and then do it in that way. So the lockout is very, very important in that area. The second question is a very good question. That probably would be, from our point of a manufacturer, of one of the biggest concerns. but we would welcome to work with all the government agencies to try to share this information with all of the independent repairers. It's the same one thing we would have today. Obviously, I come from the UK, so I'm fully aware that when we launched electric vehicles back in 2009, we worked very closely with recovery services. We work with the AA, we work with the RAC. We trained, or they trained as an organisation, all of the recovery and all of our vehicles that were sold with AA or RAC, as it's called now, recovery for electric vehicles. So all of the people were fully aware on how to deal with an electric vehicle, whether it was in an accident or whether it was a breakdown. Slightly different here, and that's something that we need to discuss and need to look at and need to work with people so that we make sure, maybe as a distributor, that we distribute the vehicle and we sell the vehicle with a recovery package and that we train those recoveries. So that's something that we have to take on board and look for the future.
Mark, I just have a quick question. To what extent is what you've described specific to Renault versus the rest of the industry and the motor manufacturers? Presumably they're doing something quite similar. Do you work together to align your practices?
Yes and no. Obviously with Nissan, because we're in alliance with Nissan, so as you know it's Renault Nissan, we have similar type of packages that we've got. They have hybrid, which is slightly less because they don't use the European regulation, whereas we've used the European regulation. But we discuss, we look, and we try to implement as closely together the same type of information.
With other manufacturers?
With other manufacturers, yes, we share information with other manufacturers, but you have to look at the other point of view is from the point is that we are purely electric vehicle. So a lot of other manufacturers are hybrid, and so we will try to focus really on ourselves in some of those areas.
Thank you. Any other questions from Mark? Yes, we've got another one right at the back, and then we'll come to one further forward in a second.
Just a quick question. Is there any possibility where the vehicle panels, outside the outer panels or the vehicle, let's say the frame, could it ever get electrically charged? Let's say in a rollout?
No.
No. There is no possibility at all.
There is no possibility. No possibility. It's the same as submerging the vehicle in water. You can submerge the vehicle in water today and you won't get electrocuted. The only way you'll get electrification is, as I said previously, is you need to touch the positive and minus of the battery. The battery is where all the energy is stored. That is the most key area, so that's what we have to treat very, very strictly.
Good question. I'm sure it's the question that's on everybody's mind, so yeah, thank you for asking it. Gentleman at the front, or halfway through.
Any periodic or annual inspection should customer follow?
Should the customer
Follow as a sort of maintenance?
Yes.
Is it required to inspect or maintain the system annually?
Yes, that's the servicing. The servicing is a normal annual inspection.
Annual inspection.
Yeah, you will have an annual or a 10,000 kilometre inspection. It's no different than currently what we would operate for internal combustion engine vehicles. The difference is the number of operations are totally reduced because you no longer need to change oil, but you still will check the brakes, you will check the suspension, etc. as normal. On top of that, you will do more electronic checks because you are looking at the management of the battery, the wear of the motor, etc. So we're looking more at electrical systems. Again, we have to take into consideration the AC is fully electrical. It's driven electrically. We don't have any belts on the vehicle now. So we're looking more from an electrical point of view for the annual inspection. So there is still a need, but the cost of the service or the maintenance is reduced by around 30% because, as you can see, the parts reduction, the spare parts requirement is totally halved.
regarding the 30% reduction in the maintenance cost that you mentioned, this percentage cover the cost of the battery that we are, are the customer, change it, because I understood that from the previous presentation that the battery will be changed, once for the along with the lifetime of the vehicle.
So we have two batteries on the vehicle. We have the normal 12, 14 volt battery, and we have the traction battery. Part of the maintenance is to change the 12 volt battery. As you quite well know, within this region, batteries don't have the same lifespan as they would do in other parts of the world because of the heat, or lead acid batteries don't. So we make it part of the maintenance, even in Europe, to change the 12 volt battery, because the systems, the electronic systems around the car, the normal starting, the normal computers, rely on that side of it. The main battery, there are different models. I think this has been spoken about earlier. Renault in Europe lease the battery. So you take the battery on a leasing contract, and within that leasing contract, the battery would be changed. You remove the cost of replacement batteries. There is what we call buy-buy, or buy to lease. So it's done through a finance. When we decide to commercialise the vehicle, depending on the business model and the finance, it may be that the battery is leased. So the customer pays, as normal, like a mobile phone contract, €90 a month or €50 a month to lease the battery for a 5-year period. Anything that goes wrong with that battery within that period is covered.
So it means that 30% not cover, exclude the leasing.
Yeah, the 30% solely is on the maintenance. It doesn't include the traction battery.
I think we've got another question at the front, actually. We've got a microphone there.
Thank you very much. For any reason, if there fire coming with the car or the car failed, if for any reason the fire coming in the car or the car burning, what happened for the battery?
Sorry,
If the car catch fire.
if the car catches fire,
Yes. Sometimes because happen for some reason we receive some complaint about that. Suddenly the car is burning or something.